The sun rose over the bustling streets of Ojota, casting long gold shadows over the rows of open stalls and shouting traders. It smelled of roasted corn, sweat, and stories. Sarah bent low behind her makeshift table of fresh vegetables, tying her scarf tighter. Her skin glistened under the morning heat, but her eyes never stopped moving, watching, listening. She wasn't supposed to be here, not in this faded wrapper, not in borrowed rubber slippers, not selling tomatoes in a wheelbarrow pushed in before dawn. She was the daughter of Chief Omer, one of the wealthiest industrialists in the country, a girl who had grown up in estates guarded by iron gates and chauffeurs. But today she was Mama Saad, the quiet market girl with dirt on her feet and secrets in her eyes. All because of one man, Philip. He was handsome, sharp-tongued, with a smile that could light up a room and a charm that melted even her father's business associates. He had swept her off her feet at a charity gala 6 months ago. Everyone said they were perfect together. But lately, Sarah felt a shift, something beneath the surface of his flattery, something cold. The final push came 2 weeks ago. Her friend Ifeoma had shared what she overheard. Philip laughing with friends at a club, boasting, "Even if she was a nobody, I'd still be doing her a favor by marrying her." That night, Sarah made a decision. She needed to know who he truly was. Without the makeup, without the diamonds, without the family name. So here she was, in the market, hidden in plain sight. For days, she had watched people show their true colors. She had seen a boy return extra change and a woman slap a beggar for touching her tray. The market peeled people open. Now it was Philip's turn. She had sent him a message the night before, pretending to be stranded in town, told him her phone battery died, gave him the name of a market street. She wanted to see what he would do if he thought she was poor and helpless. Now she waited. The sun climbed. Her hands itched with sweat. Then she saw him. Philip, tall, confident, sunglasses perched on his head like a crown. He scanned the crowd, frowning. His polished shoes crunched against sand and fruit peels. Then he spotted her. Sarah straightened. He froze, blinked, then slowly walked up to her. "What is this?" he said, disgust curling in his voice. "Why are you dressed like this? Are you joking?"
People nearby paused. She smiled slightly. "I told you I had an emergency." Philip looked her up and down like she was filth. "So this is who you really are," he said louder now, scoffing. "You're just a common market rat. Wow, I thought I was dating a woman, not a roadside embarrassment." Sarah's heart clenched, but her face didn't flinch. She didn't say another word. She didn't defend herself. She just turned slowly, picked up her basket, and walked away. Behind her, the market buzzed with whispers, but Sarah knew something Philip didn't. This test was over, and the real lesson was about to begin. The gates of the Ome estate were tall, black, and silent, guarding not just wealth, but secrets. Sarah walked past them later that evening, no longer in her wrapper. Now her hair was neatly braided, her blouse silk, and her heels clicked softly against the marble floor of the grand foyer. She stood still for a moment, letting the cool air wrap around her. Chandeliers sparkled above. Everything was quiet, too quiet. Her hands trembled slightly as she dropped her market bag. It was over now, the mask was off. Her mother, a regal woman in a wine-coloured bubu, appeared from the hallway. How did it go? Sarah didn't speak at first. She just looked up at her mother, eyes shining, not with tears, but with clarity. "He failed," she whispered, "and he didn't even blink." Mama sighed, coming closer. "Then it's good you saw it now, not after marriage. What are you going to do?" Sarah's lips curled faintly. "Nothing, I'm done, but I'll let him come to me." Her mother raised a brow, curious, but Sarah didn't explain. She didn't need to. That night, as rain began to fall softly on the mansion roof, Philip's phone buzzed, a message from Sarah. "Thank you for showing me who you are. You won't be needed at the wedding anymore." He blinked at the screen, read it again, then laughed nervously. He called, she didn't pick up. He called again and again. Nothing. The next morning, he stormed into the Ome family company office, past the front desk, demanding to speak to Sarah. Tell her Philip is here. She'll want to see me, he snapped. The secretary just smiled politely. She's in a meeting. With who? A voice answered behind him. With someone I trust, Sarah said, stepping out of the executive boardroom, flanked by a tall man in a navy suit. Philip turned, his mouth parted slightly. She looked different, taller, colder, like the version of her he had forgotten existed.
Babe, come on. What's all this?
He chuckled, trying to sound casual. You scared me with that message. Are we really fighting over a little joke at the market? The man beside Sarah stepped forward, his posture firm. She told me what happened, he said. You mocked her, humiliated her. You failed her test. Philip frowned. And who are you? The man smiled slightly. Her fiancé. Philip's jaw dropped. Sarah turned to him, her voice quiet but sharp. You see, Philip, I needed to know if you loved me for me or for what I have. Now I know. Philip looked from her to the new man, suddenly realizing the power balance had shifted. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't broken. She was finished. But you can't be serious. Sarah, you were mine. Her eyes narrowed. No, Philip, I was never yours. You were just being considered. She walked away, her heels echoing through the marble halls. Philip stood frozen, the office suddenly too bright, too quiet. But he hadn't seen the last of her, because what was coming next would make the market insult look like a whisper. 2 days after the office confrontation, gossip started leaking like smoke through dry wood. Whispers floated from boardrooms to bridal shops. Did you hear? Sarah Omer cancelled her wedding. No official statement yet, but something happened. Was it Philip? I heard he embarrassed her in public. Sarah didn't say a word. She didn't need to. The silence around her was louder than any announcement. Meanwhile, Philip was unraveling. He'd spent the past 48 hours dialing her number like an addict, text after text, voice notes filled with excuses, explanations, apologies, none of which got a response. The woman he thought he owned had vanished behind a wall of power he never imagined she had. Then came the bombshell. An exclusive invitation leaked online. Sarah Omer was newly engaged. To another man, a tech CEO based in Abuja. The news hit like a slap. Philip stared at the blog post, jaw clenched. She moved on in 2 days, he muttered. Impossible. He didn't know the truth. Sarah wasn't moving on. She had already moved. The new man, Joshua, was everything Philip wasn't. Quiet, intentional, emotionally intelligent. They had met a year ago at a business conference, but Sarah had friend-zoned him. Only now did she realize what she had overlooked. Kindness, respect, consistency. Joshua never raised his voice, never mocked, and when Sarah told him about the market test, he didn't flinch. I would have recognized you anyway, he said with a smile. You shine, rapper or no rapper. That was when she knew. She didn't need glitter. She needed peace. Meanwhile, Philip wasn't giving up. He arrived at the Ome mansion unannounced, banging on the gate like a madman. The guard didn't even flinch. Olga, your name's not on the list. Please leave. Tell Sarah I'm here, he shouted. No wahala, the guard said, pretending to check a radio. Olga say she no dear. Philip fumed. He paced. He cursed under his breath. How did he go from wedding invitations to being blocked at the gate? He didn't know that behind the upstairs curtains, Sarah was watching him. Her mother stood beside her, arms crossed. Why not let him in and tell him yourself? Sarah shook her head. He already told me everything I needed to know, with his mouth, with his pride. Then what are you waiting for? Sarah exhaled slowly. For him to feel what it's like to be unwanted. Below, Philip finally gave up. He turned, humiliated, and walked back to his car. But as he reversed, something caught his eye. A large digital billboard near the main road, his own face next to Sarah's, next to bold words. Update, former fiancé of billionaire heiress caught insulting her in public, wedding plans cancelled. Sources say she's now engaged to respected tech founder. The world was watching, and Philip hadn't just lost Sarah, he had lost his reputation. But he wasn't done yet. If he couldn't have her, he was going to destroy everything she loved. The Ome Mansion's dining room was bathed in soft amber light. A long mahogany table stretched across the room, but Sarah sat alone at one end, fingers drumming gently against her glass of Zobo. Her phone buzzed, another email, another brand partnership cancelled, in light of recent controversy. Sarah's brow furrowed. It had started with whispers on social media. Then came a smear blog post, heiress with a secret past, how Sarah Ome used poverty to manipulate men. And then a mysterious online video appeared, grainy, edited, clearly spliced together, but damaging enough. It showed clips of her laughing in the market, edited to make it look like she had mocked the traders, her voice twisted, her image weaponized. Philip. Only he had the ego and the motive to strike this low. She slammed the laptop shut. "This is war," she muttered. Across the city, Philip lounged in a club booth, drink in hand, watching the chaos unfold online with a smug grin.
"You see them dragging her?" he said to his friend. "That's what happens when you humiliate a man."
His phone pinged with a bank alert. Payment received for the fake video. "You think she'll recover?" his friend asked. Philip chuckled. "From me? Never." But he had underestimated the woman he'd tried to bury. The next day, Sarah stepped out of the shadows. She held a press conference dressed in a simple ivory gown, no makeup, just power in her eyes. She played the full, unedited video, the real one. A hidden camera she had worn during her market disguise. It captured everything. Her kindness to a beggar, her fair pricing to customers, and Philip's voice. Clear, sharp, cruel. "You're just a market rat. I thought you were a woman, not a roadside embarrassment." The hall went silent. Then it erupted. Within minutes, blogs flipped the narrative. Full story revealed. Philip humiliated his fiancée, tried to destroy her reputation. Brands called to apologize. New offers came. Even international outlets picked up the story. Sarah had done what many women never could, fought back with truth. Joshua watched from backstage, pride in his eyes. "You didn't just win," he whispered when she stepped down. "You reminded them who you are." She smiled faintly. "And who I've never been." But Philip wasn't done. That night her father called. "There's a legal letter from Philip's lawyers. He's suing for emotional distress," he said grimly. "He claims the market test was entrapment." Sarah froze. "Good," she said after a long pause. "Let him bring it to court." Her father blinked. "Are you serious?" "Yes," she replied. "Because I have more than video clips." She opened a drawer, pulled out a small leather-bound notebook. Inside were months of documented red flags, messages, voice notes, screenshots, even a voice memo Ifeoma had secretly recorded the night Philip made that club joke about her. If Philip wanted to escalate, he was walking into his own fire. Sarah leaned back in her chair. "This time," she said softly, "he won't just lose me. He'll lose everything." And outside her gates, a black car had just pulled up. Inside it, a woman Philip thought he had silenced long ago. The security guard stared at her through the car window. She didn't look important, no expensive clothes, no fancy car, just a tired woman in a faded blouse, eyes sharp and steady. "I need to see Sarah Ome," she said quietly. "Do you have an appointment?" She held up a small envelope. "No, but I have something she'll want." The guard hesitated, then picked up his walkie-talkie. Moments later, Sarah was standing at the front steps of the mansion, arms folded. She didn't recognize the woman, but something about her posture made Sarah pause. "I'm not here to beg," the woman said, stepping out. "I'm here to help you bring that man down." Sarah blinked. "You mean Philip?" The woman nodded. "My name is Ada. I was his fiancé before you." Silence. Sarah's chest tightened. "Before me?" Ada looked down, her voice shaking. 2 years ago. We were engaged. It wasn't public. He said his career needed time. But I was loyal until the first slap. Sarah swallowed hard. I stayed. I thought it was stress. Then came the isolation, the name-calling. He said I was nothing, that he was doing me a favor. Then one day, I caught him in bed with someone else, a business partner's daughter. She handed Sarah the envelope.
That day I packed my things and left, but I kept receipts. I didn't think I'd use them, until I saw what he did to you. Sarah opened the envelope slowly. Inside were photos, copies of police reports she never knew existed, voice notes of Philip shouting, messages threatening Ada to keep quiet. This is damning, Sarah whispered. Ada shrugged. The world thinks men like him are polished, powerful, but the truth always shows, eventually. Sarah sat down on the porch, the weight of it all settling on her shoulders. Why come forward now? Ada's voice cracked. Because you fought back, and because if I had spoken earlier, maybe you wouldn't have been next. Sarah looked up at her. You still can. Speak, I mean. On the record. Ada hesitated. He'll come after me. Then let's make sure when he does, he has nowhere left to hide. That evening, Sarah posted a new video. It began with her face, calm, composed. What happens when a man thinks your worth is tied to your status? What happens when he's exposed and tries to bury you in lies? Then, Ada's voice. Then the screenshots, the evidence, the receipts. By midnight, it had gone viral. And Philip? He was in a hotel room across the city, fuming. His lawsuit backfired. The blogs had turned. Brands were dropping him. One company even issued a public apology for ever associating with him. But what shook him the most wasn't the headlines. It was the message Ada left him. Your silence was your power, but now we're louder than you ever imagined. The next morning, someone else reached out to Sarah, someone unexpected, Philip's mother, and she wasn't calling to defend her son. The Omer mansion sat under a soft golden sky as the morning broke. Sarah was seated in the living room, dressed in a simple white blouse and navy jeans, sipping from a glass of warm lemon water. It was quiet, until her assistant rushed in, phone in hand. Ma, someone's on the line. She says it's very urgent. Sarah raised a brow. Who? The assistant lowered her voice. Philip's mother. Sarah froze for a moment, then reached for the phone. Hello? The voice on the other end was older, trembling but firm. Sarah, my name is Mrs. Adebayo. I'm sorry to call you like this. I know I have no right, but I needed to say something. Sarah said nothing. She let the woman speak. I watched the videos, I read the articles, I saw what he did to you, and I believe every word. That surprised her. Mrs. Adebayo continued. I failed as a mother, Sarah. I excused his behavior too many times. I told myself it was the pressure, the business, his father's legacy. But it wasn't. It was pride. It was power. I raised a man who thought women were disposable. Her voice cracked. And now, the whole country sees him for who he truly is. Sarah's throat tightened. Mrs. Adebayo took a deep breath. You have every right to hate him, but I wanted to tell you, not all of us support what he did. Not anymore. There was a pause. Then Sarah said quietly, I don't hate him. I've just outgrown him. That night, Sarah and Joshua hosted a private dinner. Not a wedding, not yet. Just a small circle of friends, family, and a few women from her new foundation, Truth and Dignity Initiative. Ada was there, smiling freely for the first time in years. Lara, a market woman Sarah had once helped during her undercover test, sat beside her. And across the table, Joshua reached for Sarah's hand. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded. Better than okay. The lights were warm, the laughter genuine. For once, Sarah wasn't performing. She was living. Meanwhile, Philip sat alone in a courtroom, flanked by his new legal team. The lawsuit had collapsed. Public prosecutors were now investigating his intimidation tactics, defamation, and historic abuse claims. Everything he once used to impress women, his charm, his money, his name, meant nothing now. Because this time, it wasn't just Sarah who walked away. It was his reputation, his connections, his control. And Sarah, she walked taller now. When she passed through a crowd, people whispered. Not because she was rich, but because she was respected. At a speaking event weeks later, a young woman asked her, "What would you tell your younger self?" Sarah smiled. "Don't fall for the man who loves your glow. Fall for the one who sees your fire, even when it's hidden beneath dust." The crowd clapped. The stage lights glowed, and far away from gossip blogs, expensive rings, or designer gowns, a woman who once pretended to be poor had found something real: peace, power, and the love she never had to test. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next video.